I find the intros really awkward to do. I'm learning. So I have a tarot reading. My name is Sarah. Welcome. Welcome to my channel. All of those things. I have realised over the past few days as well, by rewatching a couple of my videos, that I definitely absolutely assume some prior knowledge of the tarot, which I didn't really realise I did that. So I've added some information to in my description box, just really sort of simply what a tarot deck is, and just like some tips as a viewer as well, like when you're watching the messages. So I would kind of recommend giving that a read, but I'm going to try and not assume the knowledge that people already kind of know about the tarot. Okay, so I have a message, and it's collective. It could be for anybody and everybody. It won't necessarily resonate with you as a viewer. There might just be bits and pieces of it that do. That's fine. It might not resonate with you at all. It's also fine. It might be absolutely your fucking message, and that is fine as well. So just flex your discernment when you're watching. Yeah, open mind, flexy discernment, be all good. So this message here, the cards that came out in the spread are in front of me. There are some other cards that didn't come out directly in the spread, and they give me more information. They give me kind of context. So they're always, for me as a reader, worthwhile me looking at. And these were fascinating. So we have these two. L'Étoile is the star, and Le Maison Deux is the tower. So in tarot, very, very simply, very generally, the star is an energy that is quite peaceful, quite healing, a wish, like it's that kind of energy. Yeah. The tower is an energy more of destruction, things coming down, sudden. It can have a sudden quality to it, unexpected, big. It is associated with Mars, is this particular card. So, and sequentially in the major arcana, after going through the chaos and the turmoil of whatever the tower might represent, number 16, you go into number 17 of the kind of, right, healing. There's a certain peace that comes after that, yeah. But what this was actually communicating to me was two energies that have come together, will be coming together. Two energies. And I think it is likely to be two people, two individuals. It could be two groups of people coming together. Could be either. I'm going to read it as if it's two individuals though, but apply it how you need to apply it. So there's two individuals, and one of them is represented by this star energy and the other is represented by this tower. But then they also got, okay, so I'll talk about this first. Right. So these sort of came together, right? So it's these two meeting, but this one has brought this Ten of Swords with them. So this just speaks to me as a reader of it talking about there being a lot going on, I think, in the headspace, like mentally. There's a lot going on. The Ten of Swords is the most you can get in the suit. Yeah, it's the 10, it's the completion. It's like you've hit the most. And because the Tower is, as I was saying, like an energy of upheaval and being quite a lot, both of these cards together were sort of just communicating that. They were like, oh, there's a lot with this one. There's a lot going on. Maybe a lot of, definitely just like a busy headspace. Lots of thoughts, lots of words, lots of opinions, maybe lots of speech, just a lot. To the point where it's like it might be, or it's kind of indicating that it's a bit much, like it's too much, or it's hit a point of can't take anymore. It's like it's maxed out. These can both be cards that are associated in a way with the ego as well, right? They can be associated with the ego and having an aspect of that kind of come down. I feel like, yeah, okay. The main thing is that there's a lot going on with this one. There's a lot. It's quite stressy. It could be fraught. It could also have that a bit like fucking when you're wired because you've had too much caffeine. And I mean, like, you are wired, you know, and things just are a bit fucking weird, isn't it? There's like a kind of a sense of you can feel a bit disassociated, can't you? It's like you've got so much caffeine, you're just running at this other fucking level. There's that much caffeine in your system, and then so it can be quite odd trying to just sort of do particular things. It has that in it as well, like just like wired because too much caffeine. There's just too much. Do you get what I mean? There's too much of something, and it's affecting the mind. It's affecting the mind. So there's something about this one. I was getting this idea of like conjunction, right? It's like there's some kind of conjunction between these two people, these two groups, these two energies. Because I think these have come together, they've met, and it's, I think the cards in the spread are then sort of discussing either sort of what happened energetically in the moment that they met, or if you know, they met in a moment, then that moment was over, and then they've gone off and there's some kind of distance, because the star can talk about distance, right? Like the stars in the sky can talk about distance. So it like some kind of experience that they're each having independently of each other, but in time and space their experiences are conjunct. Does that make sense? Okay. So if the Ten of Swords is kind of talking about the mental kind of aspect of it, or yeah, mental. Swords can talk about speech as well. Like air is communication amongst other things, but that is one of its really primary kind of attributes, is air. So communication, the mind. But then there was also this Ten of Cups, which cups is more the emotional realm. So this was kind of confirming that there's mind and heart there. Mind and heart. Something about mind, a lot of mind here. The star is associated with air as well. So, but also the heart, because Venus is the morning and evening star. Yeah, Venus, planet that's associated with the heart. There's something, these two have come together, and in that coming together there is both heart and mind. Okay. So that's those cards. I feel like the cards then in the actual spread are elaborating on that dynamic, on that connection, that meet up. It's got something to do with that. So the other cards from the other deck that I'm using that didn't come out in the main spread were this Techno Cleanse and Torpid. So this was just communicating very, very clearly that there was a sort of need to unplug, literally, figuratively, from, I think, things that could be feeling like they're a bit much. Different forms of communication, different people communicating, different platforms, different sources, whatever that is, because it's putting more into the mental space, right? But with the Techno Cleanse, it sort of seemed to be saying fairly directly, technology, what one receives through a screen, at least for a particular moment or for a period of time, may not be conducive to a healthy or the healthiest mental space, right? Retreat from the tech, yeah, for now. It's necessary sometimes. Necessary all the time for me. So there could be something in the meeting of these two, because I was saying that this is quite a peaceful, healing energy. So there could be something in the exchange, or just the energy between them. Transference. If this one has kind of been quite stressed out, a lot going on, and they then meet somebody who is just quite mellow, they've maybe just got a sort of healing energy about them, like there's something soothing about them. So it might be, there might be have been benefit there. This one might have helped to kind of soothe the headspace, or maybe okay, we're going to get into the main cards of the spread. Okay. So the first two cards, they came out with the Seven of Wands and Wisdom. So I've got notes everywhere as well. I've got notes on my laptop, and I've got sort of post-its stuck on here just to help prompt me to remember things that I've written down in my meditation, after my meditations. Okay. So we've got this, Seven of Wands and Wisdom. So it was interesting, like when I was looking, when sort of sat with this card, I found myself counting. I was counting things, which I don't usually do when I sit with the cards. There was this real kind of focus on like how many flowers are up here and how many flowers are down here, how many wands are on this side, how many wands are on this side. I found that I was trying to count these kind of quantifiable aspects of the energy in a way that I didn't usually feel inclined to do. And there are more flowers up at the top than there are at the bottom. And there are more ones on this side than there are this side. So the authors of the book, what they write about this, they say back and forth, this way and that. Conversations in traffic, two-way affairs. There is profit to be found in the trade of words or goods. Charming words deflect barbs, and rancor. So it's bringing that idea of like the speech, right? And I think actually because wands are the suit of fire and it's talking about speech, and there was this tower with all the lots here. So I think this is actually kind of representing this person, right? It's them. Got something to do with them. So it could be someone who's talking quite a lot. Conversation and traffic are two-way affairs. Might be talking to a lot of people, talking to a lot of different people perhaps. But it was actually, I came across something else. What comes out of the mouth indicates what one has inside. It tells the structure of the heart. It tells the structure of the heart. The tower structure, right, can talk about structures, whether they are mental or physical structures. So what somebody is speaking, they're speaking from the heart. They're speaking from the heart. Or somebody is speaking their heart to them. Right, okay. Okay. I think this Seven of Wands is representative of this Tower energy here, who has got a lot of kind of busy mental things and a lot of communication, kind of maxed out with it, yeah, lots. So some of that I think is like two-way conversation, verbal traffic, yeah. And there is some kind of profit to be made in the exchange of words. I don't know if the goods thing is quite as relevant, but maybe in the exchange of words, there's some kind of profit to be made in that respect, okay? But part of what might be a bit much and a bit tricky, a bit like, fuck, is that there's perhaps some having to deflect barbs, you know. People might be kind of throwing a bit of verbal shit their way, or they might be challenging them, or there might just be a lot to address, right? So they're having to, because the Seven of Wands can be about very, like, generally it's about kind of maintaining an advantage. Yeah, you're victorious in gaining an advantage in the 6, and then in the 7 it's about maintaining that and how challenging it can be once you're on that higher ground to stay there, yeah. So again, with the Tower, things collapsing, coming down, there could be like a bit of, like, I was going to say tremendous pressure, I don't know. There could be quite a lot of pressure to maintain something, to maintain an advantage that's kind of been achieved. So that might be quite stressful for somebody. So it came out with this wisdom card, which I think what's written with this card, the author in the book: those who have attained wisdom seldom speak of it. And it talks about, oh no, sorry, in my meditation, I got the wisdom of an utterance from one who says not much, wise heart. So I think this is somebody else, someone else. I think that's maybe this star energy. Venus, did I mention Venus? Venus rules the heart. She's the goddess of love and beauty and connectivity and attraction. Yeah, an attraction. Maybe that is a bit of what's going on here. There's some kind of attraction in some way. Well, there is, because they've come together. So there's some kind of attraction. So I think maybe this wisdom card is speaking about both of these. I think there's something. I think it is kind of saying that there is wisdom in whatever this one is talking about a lot, even if it's very much and it's very stressful and there's a lot of it. There's wisdom in that. I think because I was saying that this is a more peaceful, calmer energy. It's like they say something They say something, but it doesn't have that same kind of chaotic, stressful energy to it. They don't have that to them. It's like they say something, but not very much, right? They don't say very much. And I've written down wise heart. So I think that excuse me, noise coming out of my mouth. What comes out of what comes out of the mouth indicates what one has inside. It tells the structure of the heart. So they're saying something soothing and they're saying something nice. Okay, I think at the very least it's that. But there is wisdom in it. They've got a wise heart. So in whatever small utterance, whatever they've said, there's wisdom in it, and it comes from a wise heart. So then we've got this Four of Swords. Okay, so the author says, make retreat a volitional action and you can recuperate and restore your strength and acquire wisdom. Right, so volition, right? Volition is the faculty or power of using one's will. Using one's will. And the root of that word in medieval Latin is volo, V-O-L-O, which is, it translates as I wish. Stars a wish. Okay. So something I think this one has said, has communicated. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't have to be words, right? Communication we can communicate in many different ways. So bear that in mind as well. But I think there has been it's the wisdom, right? The wisdom's kind of retreating and resting, recuperate, restore. The mind, right? Because this is swords as well. So definitely, if, you know, this kind of headspace, it's like resting the mind. So that might be something that they've communicated in some way. What they wish for someone to do. Rest the mind. Retreat, rest the mind. I was going to read a bit about the star from the book. Shall I do that? Already half an hour in. Fuck's sake. Okay, star. The planet, and hence the goddess Venus, is also traditionally associated with bestowing gifts, prosperity and luck. So the tarot star could also refer to her in her guise as the morning star or evening star. Right. So depending on the time of the year, it seems to be the first star to appear in the sky after the sun sets, or the last to disappear before the sun rises. So the children's rhyme recommending we wish on the first star I see tonight would also seem to have us wish upon Venus. Wish upon the heart, the wise heart. Right, for modern people who practice or study magic and the occult, Aleister Crowley is important to learn about, no matter what you end up thinking of him and his books. The movement he founded and the impact of his influence on broad swaths of culture cannot be denied. So Aleister Crowley said, "Every man and every woman is a star." He said, "A star is an individual identity. It radiates energy, it goes, it is a point of view. Its object is to become the whole by establishing relations with other stars." The attraction, the conjunction, right? Conjunction, which in astrology and astronomy talks about different planets or celestial points being so close they look like they're in the same place. They're conjunct each other. So maybe that there was a literal star that was somehow kind of conjunct Mars. Something going on in the sky, and then the kind of corresponding earthly kind of showing of it was in the meeting of two people. Right, the energy was in this meeting. Yeah, microcosm. It talks about the goddess Nut, I think, the Egyptian goddess Nut, I think that is how it's pronounced. She was commonly depicted as a star-covered nude woman arching over the earth. In this form, she adorns most copies of a collection of ancient Egyptian astronomical texts known to modern scholars as the Book of Nut, whose earliest manuscripts date back to the reign of Seti I. In 2007, a scholar rediscovered the original name of the book, The Fundamentals of the Course of Stars. That's interesting. Course. Crash course. Ooh, collision course, but not in a bad way. Is it like two people who've kind of met perhaps quite suddenly or unexpectedly, but there was this kind of, they were on course to come across each other? They were on course to do that. How interesting. Right, so the medicine for this: an auspicious moment to wish, dream, or seek guidance, help and hope near. And the poison is, in dim or twinkling light, auguries can be ambiguous. Carefully read your charts and maps before setting course. Okay. Forgot to read that. Sorry. That's the star. Oh, okay. Right. So the thing is, the Four of Swords came out with this magic card. And this magic card is very important here. Very interesting as well. So let me look at this gorgeous cards whilst I look at my notes. Yeah, so it was kind of, because of all the healthy veg and everything, it was kind of talking about like healthy mind, healthy body to support the magic, right? Retreating and resting in the mental space to nourish and to prep. To nourish and prep. I think this is the healing, isn't it? This is the healing, some of the healing that the stars brought in energetically. They might have just brought in an idea or a recommendation, some advice. They might have just said something quite casually, or might have done something. It could, it could have been a tender touch on the back of someone's head, or holding hands. It could be a whole range of things. But it's like within that there is a real wisdom of heart. It's like they care. They really care. They care. Even if right, it's like a sudden meeting, don't know each other. Whatever they've said, they care. They care. Okay, saying it from the heart. Okay, keep holding that up. Right, so the magic cards. I'm going to read about this one because we've just mentioned Aleister Crowley when I was reading about the star. So this is important. So magic is spelled like this with a K, right? And it was Aleister Crowley that I think it's a very archaic way of spelling it, but Aleister Crowley, he was alive at sort of the turn of the 20th century. That was kind of his time, and he died in 1947. But he used to use this spelling of magic specifically to differentiate it from stage magic and illusionists, right? Entertainment magic. That was why, and it's why you often see it in these days. Like it's keeping that distinction. So his definition of magic, right? Magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. Magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. So when you talk about will, it's not the ordinary will of the contracted ego, but the true will that seems to spring from some deeper area of being. True will. In this deck, there is actually a true will card, and it is deeply interesting to me that it has not come out in this spread. But the magic card has, and the magician card has as well. Okay, so a bit more to read about this, about magic. Okay. So in order to call upon the uninhibited force of the will, you must want something intensely. So really powerful desires, right? The effect of wanting something strongly is not only to arouse one's desires, but to arouse the energies that will enable one to pursue it. So we could go back here, go back to this one with its Mars energy, and it's really powerful, really powerful. Could be desires with Mars, right? It's quite like a sexual energy. Doesn't mean it has to be sort of sexual desires, but very masculine energy, masculine fire is Mars. Right. So, true will, not ordinary will. Right, there are 4 basic assumptions of magic. That the physical universe is only part of a total reality. That human willpower is a real force capable of being trained and concentrated, and that the disciplined will is capable of changing its environment and producing paranormal effects. That this willpower must be directed by the imagination, very important. And the fourth one is that the universe is not a mixture of chance, factors and influences, but an ordered system of correspondences, and that the understanding of the pattern of correspondences enables the occultist or whoever to use them for their own purposes. Right, because I was saying, wasn't I, that this can be quite a chaotic energy. There is some, I think, there is just such an emphasis on the chaos of this and the kind of intensity of it, that if this one is trying to make something happen, they're trying to do something, it is going to be particularly challenging if they stay in this headspace, or it might actually really affect them being able to do it. That's why there is this need to retreat and to rest and to recuperate, to acquire that wisdom, right? It's like to acquire wisdom, to maybe realize or enter into or understand whatever this one has said. Acquire that wisdom, right? Because this is like, it's a hindrance. Not a hindrance, that isn't the right way to phrase it. It's, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it's worse. This energy could be sort of suggestive of a kind of mental fatigue and sort of perhaps a kind of burnout, a kind of exhaustion. So there is a need to be careful here. If, you know, there is just a bit of overwhelm and too much and it's become stressy, the cards are kind of saying, like, do take a step back from that. Like, that is necessary, but that is also the most conducive thing to getting done what it is you're wanting to get done. It's like that paradox comes up a lot in readings. You could be busy with like a million fucking things you want to do, but steaming around trying to get them all done and not resting isn't the most conducive thing to getting all of those things done. Like, rest is really integral to operate on an optimum level. This is a bit like kind of pushing it too far, pushing it a bit too much, and there being this kind of it's just too much, right? Or it's going that way. So yeah. And if that true will must be directed by the imagination, is a headspace that is busy with too much other stuff will limit the capacity to use imagination. Okay. Yeah, so to practice magic, both the imagination and the will must be called into action. They are co-equal in the work. The will, unaided, can send forth a current, yet its effect is vague and indefinite. The imagination, unaided, can create an image, yet it can do nothing of importance unless vitalized and directed by the will. Right. And then last bit of the notes for this. So the universe itself exists in the equivalent of a great mind, and our mind is the only universe we can truly control. Magic calls for a mastery of one's mind, human experience, and of one's own body. Yeah, the nourishing. Magic is not simply a means to control one's physical world through spells and sorcery. It equally, if not more so, operates in a realm of thought, which only a healthy mind can access fully. This energy is harnessed and directed from a place of mental clarity that can transform the Magi themselves and the world around them. That's what this is sort of saying. It's kind of like a healthy realm of thought and a kind of not so healthy one, at least in this particular kind of moment or period. Right. It's like to be able to access your power fully, there has to be a kind of mental clarity that's just, it's not there in this energy. It's there in this one though. It's there in this one. And they're communicating something in some way to encourage, to support, to recommend this. Get some fucking rest, sleep, eat nice food, have some fruit and veg, just, you know, just rest, do those things. It's necessary for magic. People do this all the time, but they won't necessarily kind of call it magic or recognize it as magic. So if you're not somebody who's kind of open to that, fair enough. But it, you know, it's when you're trying to do something, when you're trying to create, you're trying to manifest things for yourself, create change, transform. It's all of that. It's about intention and being able to imagine the thing that you want for yourself and kind of building it and pulling it in and getting all the energies and the things that you need, all the components to do it, right? Everything's a spell. So it's then the importance of rest for you to be able to do your thing, whatever that thing might be. But there's been like some significant something here, some sort of significant exchange or meeting that seems to have just sort of had a big effect, I think. So the next cards were this Magician and the Sun. So the Magician is a card of Mercury represented by the planet Mercury. It's a card of wit and dexterity and like cleverness, adeptness. Mercury is associated with communication and movement and travel. And then we've got the Sun. So we've got the magic card. This is the Magician, but actually Le Bateleur translates as Juggernaut, which is interesting. Which Juggernaut, right, is just like a really powerful, massive, overwhelming force. You could say of all of these, could say of this energy, right? Big, bit of a juggernaut of energy. Sun, so it's fire as well. But this particular Sun card actually talks more about the actual sun and about warmth, celebrating warmth, yeah. But there was a really kind of interesting... So the magician, I'd actually got in my meditation, retreat and rest will alter consciousness. So whatever kind of state that has it a bit sort of hectic and crumpled, rest and retreat will kind of alter that. But it's like there will be some vision of happiness that is strongly desired, and so the true will is needed to manifest it. That's why the true will card hasn't come out. There's something about the true will. Whatever this is, all this exchange of words, all of this, and perhaps this. I'm not sure that the true will is involved in that. It's not to say there's something here about conscious will, which can be quite contracted, right? It can be quite focused. It doesn't necessarily relate to deep, very strong desires. So even though magic is being made and things are being done, it's like it relates more to perhaps the ego. Not necessarily, doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, the ego, but there's more, there's something about retreating into a state of rest, celebrating warmth, opening your heart, breathing into your heart. Because he's got roses in his mouth, right? It's like speaking the heart. It's like that's the magic in the rest. It's one of the components. It's like resting, unplugging, switching off, going into this kind of retreat is this really warm, comforting. It's a bit like a hug. It's a bit like a fucking hug, right? But it's like that state of relaxation. I mean, it even looks like he's like a bit of a trance state, doesn't he? There's just something about getting out of this, unplugging from whatever is causing that. Just unplugging from it. That lets you kind of sink into a state where there's some kind of, the relaxation is such that the consciousness is altered. And then there is this kind of vision of happiness. There's a vision of happiness in that state. There's kind of other to whatever this is. Whatever this is, where there's some kind of trying to maintain the higher ground, and there's this sort of profit in words or goods, whatever that is. It's like, yes, it is, yeah, like, yeah, that's its thing. That is whatever that is, right? But it's not this vision of happiness. This is a different thing. So I think there is that's why the rest retreat has been emphasized so much. It's like, do that so the true desire can be seen and understood. Because that true will is going to be needed to manifest that particular thing, yeah? Not the ego, not a kind of narrow consciousness. It's like, I wrote something interesting for this, let me see. It's that thing as well, roses in the mouth, speak in the heart. It's that, the idea of What comes out of the mouth tells the structure of the heart, right? Warm words, there's something about warm words there. Remembering warm words. Remembering a warm exchange, or remembering warmth. Remembering warmth, I don't know. Yeah, so in the tarot more so, the Sun card talks about consciousness, and it talks about kind of like everyday consciousness and awareness in that respect, okay? But our consciousness is huge, like the sun is huge. There's so much more to our consciousness than the sort of aspect of it that we use when we go about our day-to-day business, doing things. Depends what those things are, but mostly you need to be in a certain state of consciousness to do your job and to use public transport and to do all this, right? You need that, so it's important. But that is not all our consciousness is. It's this really enormous, expansive thing. So there was something about the border on the card representing that idea of like contraction, and then the actual kind of colour and image of the card being more like the expanded consciousness. So I've written, the ego can contract the consciousness, but the heart can expand it. Warmth can expand it and open it up. Get out of your head into your heart through rest. Right? And there's going to be some kind of ego limitation or contraction or stressiness. Right? It's a kind of mental stressiness that has caused like a tightening, like the way when you're stressed, your muscles and your body tense up. Your mind is kind of energetically is a kind of similar thinking out. If you're really stressed, you're not at your most kind of expansive and clear. You're limited in what you can perceive or what you can see, because you're kind of limited by the stress, right? You're limited by that stressy energy. So it's like this is ego kind of contracting. It's the cage, right? It looks a bit like a sun. Contracting consciousness when there's like this need to kind of sink into the warmth and sink into the warmth of your heart and expand. And the way to do that, quite simply, I think, is through rest and unplugging, like switching off from something periodically. It doesn't have to be forever, probably not forever, but just give yourself a break when you need it from stuff. Yeah. And it's like somebody's recognized, I think, that somebody needed that, or somebody needs that. So there's like an urging to do it. Or my spirit team are kind of urging me to urge you to do that. Right, that's the message that's being communicated to me here. Rest. Just rest. So yeah, then we've got this Knight of Cups, which is water, so soothing, relates to the emotions. And we've got this Beauty and Death card. So this Beauty and Death actually talks about like letting go of what doesn't suit you anymore, rejoice in its abandon. But it also, thoughts and actions alike carry weight. Thoughts, actions alike carry weight. I think that's what this is, right? I think this is what all this is. This just, it's got too much. So it's just, it's like, let it go. Rest, let it go. There's something about confluence with this card as well, like the act or process of merging. There's something about looking below the surface, lest appearances deceive. I think that's kind of a bit of a nod to this moon energy that's coming next. So I think the knights, right, the knights can depict sort of motion. Because as well, this can talk about like arrival, overture. Overture, is an overture an introduction? A meeting? Is this the meeting? Maybe, I don't know. But it's saying like to be able to move forward, you have to kind of let go of stuff, right? You do, because it all carries weight. It all carries weight. So to be able to move forward in peace, something that kind of came through in the last reading I posted as well. Different context, but it was about like just letting yourself be able to make peace with things. This is kind of let yourself move forward in as peaceful a manner as possible, right? There was something else about this. Yeah. Right, so if the consciousness expands, like I was talking about in the previous cards, if the consciousness expands, something will get kind of pushed out. There won't be space for it anymore. And it'll just be a natural process, like the beauty and death, right? It's a natural process. As the consciousness expands, this idea of a really like a strong desire in the true will, as that is kind of realized, or that it starts to open up, it will expand, and so it will kind of, it will push other things out and they will kind of fall away. They won't be there anymore because there won't be space for them, because the warmth is being embraced, right? The heart is being embraced, expansion. But if the ego, what have I written? If the consciousness contracts or stays contracted, which I don't think it is, I think that's the point of this. Like, it's, if it was contracted, it's like something's happened where it's, that might be the unexpected thing, yeah? It might be a meeting between two people where suddenly there's just been this like, expansion of consciousness. Right. Where was I up to? Yeah, if the consciousness contracts or stays contracted, something will get cut out. There won't be space to let it in. So it'd be let go, or it won't be seen. The sight won't have widened enough to perceive it. So if you relax into an expansion of consciousness, right? You rest, look after yourself, unplug, let yourself kind of relax and spread out into this expansion of consciousness in your heart, sink into your heart, baby. It's like it will let in what wants and needs to be let in. But if it stays contracted and sort of stressy and contained, and there's sort of unhealthy ego going on there, then that means it won't be able to let in the good stuff. You don't want to lose the good stuff, right? You want to be releasing and letting go of the things that don't suit you anymore, that don't serve you, the things that kind of weight being carried. You know, that it's just time to put all the shit down. Let the good stuff in, right? You want to be releasing what needs to go, not shutting out what you're wanting or what's wanting to come in. That's what those cards are saying. And then, so the last two cards are the Three of Cups and the Moon. So this one, the orange flowers was sort of taking me back to this card here. So, and it's cup cards, it's water, so it was talking about emotional state. It was actually, I got, don't lose heart, emotions will ebb and flow like the tides. Don't lose heart. So with this one, right, Three of Cups. Good things come in threes and many a charm is a triplet. The fairy tale's enchantment happily completes when the third thing appears. I've written in capital letters. When the third thing appears. And then I've written look for the three. So this could be very personal to different people. But if you're noticing three of things, or there is a third thing, you know, just pay attention. The third of something, the third showing of something, the third iteration of something, perhaps the third person. I don't know. Just like literally look for the three. The fairy tale's enchantment happily completes when the third thing appears. It's like the third thing's the thing or something. Third thing's the thing. Right, so the moon, it was kind of highlighting the emotional aspect, because this card talks about knowing the cycles of the moon, being familiar with them, so so we can understand our emotional state. Okay, so the moon spends about 2 days in each zodiac sign. There are 12 zodiac signs. Spends like 2, maybe 3 days in each. I think it takes something like 29.5 days for the orbit around the Earth. So I mentioned the zodiac signs, right, because they all symbolically have different types of energy associated with them. So I know from 6 years of following it for myself personally, I know that for the 2 days that the moon is in this particular sign, I will have likely quite a challenging emotional experience. And I know when it is in this other sign, I will likely have just a much brighter emotional experience. But at the very least, I would recommend it kind of being worthwhile to know when new moons and full moons are in the month, and definitely eclipses. And we'll have some eclipses coming up soon. Because they are the ones that are kind of, especially eclipses, like there's a big collective kind of feel for them. I think a lot of people experience the energy of that. and they might not be aware it's an eclipse. So there's something about that, and just don't lose heart if you're finding your emotional state kind of ebbing and flowing, right? So you might have found this kind of real warm happiness, and then, you know, you might have lots of stuff to do again. I mean, can't rest all the time, unfortunately. But you know, it will pass. Like, it will pass. Just remember to keep resting, look after the emotional state. I might read this one last thing and then sign off. Les Bateleurs. Magic, medicine, and performative skill are an ancient braid, and the roots of modern science cannot be completely untangled from the faith, illusion, and legerdemain of both entertainments and confidence games. When we study what some call the placebo effect, we find that the charisma and magic of the healer, as well as the power of belief, can affect healing as powerfully as laboratory guaranteed molecules of chemically active agents. To the healed, what matters most is the accomplishment of the healing. Out of science often arises scientism, a chimera, for whom none of the objective equanimity of the scientific method and all of the received dogma of religion combine, where a person rejects on principles indigenous origin stories or their friends' lived experience of a ghost, while never doubting the existence of waves and particles they have never seen directly themselves. Magic is simultaneously worked and performed, both art and science. Its proofs are in its efficacy to transform. A charming tale by a talented charmer can spin a thread of connection and care between the hearts and minds of listeners, and through the device of illusion can inspire alliances and confidence. It's easier to organise allies under a catchy slogan or unite the crowd behind a charismatic figure than to get even your staunch supporters to listen to you read from an accurate report unadorned by any artifice or theatrical effect. When seeking collective transformations, it's often more effective not to waste your breath disputing and disassembling popular old myths when you can invent more glamorous, powerful, and attractive ones to make the former obsolete and fall discarded by the wayside. The dexterous and clever adept at juggling and hustling can with sleight of hand and refined art make something out of nothing. In times of precarity, that's fundamental survival skill and cunning. So this could be a card of complete transformations as well, right? Everything coming down. So I feel like that is important. When seeking collective transformations, it's often more effective not to waste your breath disputing and disassembling popular old myths when you can invent more glamorous, powerful, and attractive ones to make the former obsolete and fall discarded by the wayside. Right? In times of precarity, that's fundamental survival skill and cunning. So medicine, nimble feet and mercurial wit will serve a person well who must reckon quickly shifting situations, rising floodwaters, and scarcity of resources. New narratives have the power to transform and create and drown out old stories of fear and harm. Okay. It's quite long. I would strongly recommend making a brew and watching it in parts at your own, kind of leisure. there's always a lot of information in these that when I'm kind of in the moment doing it, you know, I don't necessarily kind of make connections that you as a viewer might when you're watching it. So I think there was some important stuff in there about if you're trying to make things happen, you're trying to work your magic, you need to be in touch with your heart. You need to let yourself, give yourself rest so you can have your consciousness in the state that it needs to be in to achieve what you want to achieve. Okay. There's some important meeting has happened or will happen. This might have happened already, it might have still be to come. Right. Okay. Peace. Take care. Rest. Go to sleep after eating loads of nice food.